see you there. It's me, everyone. It's me, Sean Capri. Welcome to episode 163 of We the GamerCast. It's a bonus, special and bonus episode coming right to you on my birthday, July 28th, although it may be the 30th or 29th. I don't know how time works. Thank you guys for being here, even though it's nonsense, for hitting thumbs up and subscribing. I had an amazing chat with my good friend Antonio Guillen, and it's all thanks to you guys for bringing him back all the way from episode 38. This is powered by Patreon because we hit our milestone. I think I'm coming a little hot on the mic, so maybe I'll just like back it up a little bit. There we go. Guys, this is amazing. And it's all possible thanks to everybody at patreon.com/makeusbetter, like our platinum executive producers, Mr. Corey Hicks at twitch.tv/chicks_18, and Mr. Mark Moody at youtube.com/outoflives. Our gold executive producers, the entire Quest for Pixels crew, Sheldon, Benedict, Tony Baker, Mike BC, and Panache Malloy. Maybe Panache is going to have to join up with the Quest for Pixels guys. All of our executive producers, Stephen Iafrate, JoeySplats, Caro, Underwood, Dante, Bellini Jr., Jared Gauthier, Dude427, Kevin Austin, Josh Borbone, Tammi Ryan, Robert Bobby Miller, Tim Aulph, Joel Brooks, Martini G, NastyBoots, David Ray, and Jesse Armstrong. Thank you guys so much. I've done a little something different with my microphone. I don't want to touch it, but it's kind of like I've got it off to the side here, but it's kind of like kicking out. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little too much me. I'm going to get into the whole, like what we did last week with Mario Not Bros on Monday's episode, but I really wanted to get this one out to you guys within July. And I also wanted to, for everybody who supports on Patreon, I'm going to be putting up a little something, a little poll or something, a post. I want to ask you guys something about these returning guest episodes. So stay tuned for that, which reminds me, I need to post the newsletter. Goodness gracious. I got to do that right after this. But I want you guys to hear this episode. I think it's amazing. I wasn't sure exactly when I was going to post it, maybe later on in the week, but we'll do this today. And then on Monday, JoAfterWork is there. So as I mentioned, Antonio first was on the show back in June 2016. And he came out to me back then with a proposal of, he wanted to basically like do the show. Like he I remember he had offered, just send me all the audio. He says, like, just send me everything. I'll cut it all together and I'll give you a wrapped product to put up there. And I didn't know what to do with that at the time. I still don't know what to do with people who are so gracious with their time and want to help, but I appreciate Antonio back then and I appreciate him now. This is an incredible conversation that you guys absolutely need to hear as soon as possible, which is why it's coming to you right now. Follow Antonio on the Twitter at Hypecaster. Here he is, Antonio Guillen.
This is really your birthday today?
Today is
I didn't get any alerts, and I was like, oh, it's your birthday weekend, according to your wife on Twitter. So I was like, happy birthday. Oh my God, I'm honored. Why are you doing this?
We get to talk to each other.
Why are you doing this on your
Because
birthday?
I love doing this, man. And you've helped me for so long. I was looking at our Skype like history, and it's like, man, this goes back quite a while, man. Like all of our chats on the internet have gone back for many years. So I'm grateful for that we were able to reschedule so soon. It's usually like Andrew Gonzalez, we had to reschedule if something had come up. His microphone like broke the day of. Like he showed me this cord and just like, I don't even know what I was looking at. It was just like distraught and everything was destroyed. And it's tough to reschedule because like Saturdays and Sundays are mostly when I record, but like I'm booked for the next few weeks. But I had my birthday clear, so I'm like, when Thursday, when we were supposed to record, didn't really work out. This is better because I didn't want to like rush home and then like and get set up and then like start recording. I would have been a disaster, man. And it was a long day, so this is much better.
Happy birthday, man. On behalf of everybody that you serve, not just with this show, with all the shows, with the support, just happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
But this is why I don't like making a big deal about it. I don't know, man.
You're too humble, I swear. You drip humility and it's sickening. It's disgusting.
Okay,
Sean.
well, here's where we can maybe like clean up the drippiness of humility. Like Chelsea, we woke up this morning. She's like, if you hit Lincoln, change his diaper, and hand him to me, then you can you can just sleep in.
Oh, okay.
The
opposite.
No, not that. No, this is better.
He's like, if you.
No, I want this more.
Oh my
God. Yeah, and it was like, oh, like maybe I'll sleep in, like maybe my body will let me sleep in for like maybe an hour and a half. And then so I close my eyes and I have these wonderful dreams. And then Chelsea comes in and goes, 1 o'clock is a little ridiculous. And I'm like, it's 1 o'clock.
What did you sleep for? What was the record? How many hours?
I slept probably, well, last night, so we got home last night, we went to like the summer carnival or whatever that's here. It's like 10 days and they do all the rides and everything like that. And Lincoln went on his first ride last night, like the little bumblebees going up and down. And there's this great like rip-off Spider-Man ride, like these little carts that just like spin around in circles. But there was, and it was all red and blue, and they had like the Spider-Man almost logos. And this thing at the top was like this spider monster. It was clearly supposed to be Spider-Man. And it was just like this carny ripoff. It was hilarious. But anyways, we went to the thing. We came back home, put Lincoln to bed way too late, and then we watched Inception, most of it until about midnight. Is that
like your favorite movie or something?
I love Inception. Well, Armageddon is my favorite movie, of course. Armageddon is the best movie ever made.
Wait, no, I thought it was Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage.
Oh, The Rock.
The Rock. I thought it was The Rock.
The Rock is definitely up there, man. You're right. You're right. I feel like
you know what? This
all,
show's
like,
about
Bay.
you. Hijack.
Jerry
Go ahead.
Bruckheimer. No, that's.
Tell us your favorite things. It's your birthday. Lead the GamerCast, please.
This show is not. You made it this way. I fell for the trap. How are you,
man?
I
shouldn't have said anything.
How are you doing?
Could have had you going for 20 minutes.
You really wouldn't have. How are you?
I'm not doing well, and I've shared that on social and stuff, so I'm not afraid to talk about it. I think people should. So I'm not well, but yeah, I mean, like, for those who don't know, like from an emotional, mental, like health standpoint, but a lot of people have it worse. That's like, I don't know if that's I don't want that to come off in a negative way, but I just feel like, I'm not as bad as, other people have, everybody has their struggles, but, I could be better, but,
yeah.
I'm fairly healthy physically, kind of a little bit. So I think that's really important. And of course I got my wife and little puppies here and, great family and stuff. So yeah, overall,
yeah, you seem to be counting.
I want to
say
can't complain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I should always try to stay in that area. But yeah, I'm really grateful to all the friends out there in the community and everybody who podcasts and does all this gaming stuff with us, because that really helps. Obviously, we make it a big part of our lives. I know you make it a big part of your lives because you're always online. I always see you. I'm like, we're all doing life together in that way. So. I also try to do that, and it helps, I think. I enjoy it.
It's funny because I had, like, this whole path. Like, so when we said we were going to record on Thursday, and I would have just been, like, rushing home and, like, just basically, like, firing up the computer and then, like, and starting to hit record. Today, I had a little bit extra time. I woke up at 1. I had, like, a half an hour. I'm like, you know what? I should probably, like kind of plan out, like, what journey do I want to take with Antonio? Because I know you, and I get that kind of, like, benefit of knowing like what you're up to, and we've been chatting ever since we met and all those different things. So like these returning guest shows are always a little bit different in that way. So I had plotted out like what journey do I want to take with Antonio, and then we just jumped right into this. So I'm glad you mentioned it right off the start, because I wanted to ask you like, what are you doing to like maybe take care of yourself? Like you've been open about this, you've acknowledged that this is a thing, but also that like things could be worse, I guess, is a way to look at it. But I wanted to ask you like how you've been coping, because you posted an article on the NintendoVillage.com at the end of May, Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's now the end of July. Like, how have you been doing since then? Like, have things gotten better? Have things gotten worse? What have you been doing since you sort of like put that out there?
Yeah, unfortunately, I would say things have gotten worse since then. It largely is part of my nature of being like a procrastinator. So there's something about our culture too where people don't want to go to the doctor, and referring to like a mental health doctor. So I could have easily taken steps, which is again top of my priority list, but not taken, is to figure out how my insurance deals with handling mental health, seeing if I could see a psychologist, talk things out, things like that. And in America, for you Canadian and UK listeners, it's a little difficult. Like
it's probably similar. Actually, we don't get free healthcare for psychologists and things. Like it has to be another thing. Yeah.
As far as I remember, it was like an opt-in, opt-out thing, and I may have checked the wrong checkbox, which is going to make things a little harder for me.
Yeah.
Like in November, whenever I was supposed to foresee that I needed to see
kind of thing.
Yeah. It's so weird. Like you have to get sick on a calendar, co-pays and all this stuff. Lee and Rebecca know exactly what I'm talking about if you guys ever listen to this. But aside from that, I do freelance work sometimes, and I took on some things just on the weekends to make some more money, and that's not good when you're like overly stressed. The one thing that we did do, like, I'm a Christian, I know a lot of people in the community are, and it's good to be plugged in with, the people of faith and having that support system, when you like do a Bible study or, plug into your church and get that, a spiritual support type thing too.
Yeah.
So I've been doing some more of that, me and my wife. So that's definitely helped. I was just telling, some other people, God and our faith is really helping out and strengthening us and getting us through. And that's been good. But overall, again, kind of deteriorated. Haven't taken those real concrete steps to do something like I think important is talk to a psychologist and stuff. I think it's good.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Christianity and the faith, because I've always kind of been like, I don't know. Before I went to go see my psychologist, I was like, maybe I should just walk into a church and just talk to somebody there. And I was always curious, like, what kind of like experience that would be like what kind of guidance are they able to provide to you? Is it mainly like talking about lessons directly from the Bible, or does it translate into things like, is there a possibility for them to offer you support in a way of like, can you try doing this in your everyday life? Are there actual kind of concrete changes as you alluded to?
I actually, in the last couple of years, the church and like mainstream or secular, you could call it, like the world and church have always had these weird divisions, and church means a lot. There's like the church structure, and then outside of the traditional like Roman Catholic or anything, there's so much to unpack there. But the main thing is there's been a lot of strides. Like I'm a non-denominational Christian, so just a Bible believing church. We try to keep it very simple, very loving, teach from the Bible. But as part of what we try to do to like help other people is there's like counseling services and things like that,
right,
to people who are inside the church and without. So a lot of times I'll have like maybe a family member or a friend, and I'll be like, man, you should talk to this pastor or this person who has trained and done actual like training to understand how to be a marriage counselor, how to do basic things. And then there's things that we definitely turn over to high level professionals, like abuse and things like that. And
right,
that type of thing is I would say fairly new. Like before, it's not just Bible thumping and straight from the Bible. It's just practical counseling, marriage help, and it's all like it comes from a place, from a motivation of God and serving you and loving on you like Jesus would. We want to be God's hands and feet and just help you in the way that we know that God would want. And that's the core of it. But it's not all completely like you have to be a Christian to get this type of help.
Right.
You'd be surprised at what they do have. It's just like another arm. So just like you typically think of like a food kitchen or something like that. Churches do a physical need. A lot of them also do like a counseling arm. So when we got married, we prepared for quite a few months with this amazing couple that, had studied how to do marriage counseling. And that has prepared me so much for this troubled time. If you don't know, and I've shared this, so many times, I doubt people would mind, but my father-in-law passed away, and we definitely came in and to support Christina's mom, and it's been a very trying time. If you've lost a parent or your parent-in-law, it's very hard. But we had a very solid foundation that again came through God's people that we had built friendships with in the church, and I'm glad that we had that. So there's a lot there. There's a lot you could do. I would definitely always keep the door open to actual, psychologists. It doesn't have to be within the church, but definitely take care of yourself spiritually too. I would always like, it's so great that you feel comfortable enough to ask, and then I could just be like, hey, this is what it's about. But always keep it. Realize now that church people are not going to, if you have a level head and you're, trying to look out for people, you're not going to do something like, yeah, only see a Christian counselor, only go to church and you'll be fine. No, you have to come with this great mentality that there's also professional help. You can take medicine if you need it, things like that. Because I'm sure there's that stigma out there where people will kind of be like, oh, this is like, God is not medicine. It's not an Advil that you take and, you'll feel better.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Not that God can't heal, because he definitely has for me, healed me emotionally and things like that. But definitely keep yourself open to all aspects, both sides.
It's funny that you say that too, because we've been sort of trained, like when we have a headache, we take this medicine to have this fixed. And I think that like there's two different ways that people I think react to medicating in terms of mental illness or wellness that like that you either automatically go to that because that's what you've been trained to do with headaches and things like that, or you have like this averse reaction. Like there's maybe a stigma against like what does it turn you into if you become either, I don't know if there's an addiction related to it or dependent, if there's a dependency on it. And so like there's kind of like one way or another, but I think ultimately like it's the uncertainty and the ambiguity around it that kind of keeps people from helping themselves, which is why I wanted to just kind of like blow the doors off this whole thing and just kind of go like, okay, what are everybody's options? And to be honest, like for me, it was more like whatever path presented itself was going to be the one that I sort of took. Like, and I think that's kind of has to be the way for a lot of people, like, because I think people are looking for like a very like a clear path, like this is what I did and it will 100% work for you. And I can't really say that that's the case, because I certainly thought of going, like I said, walking into a church and just kind of like talking to somebody and just seeing how that happened. But the opportunity didn't like really open itself to me. I didn't really have that, like, I don't know what I was really looking for. If there was like a sign on the outside of a church door saying like, Sean, come on in, or like something like that. Like maybe my car broke down in front of a church and I was like having kind of a meltdown at the same time kind of thing. Like it just never really worked out that way. But instead, I found this place that I could go to nearby my house, and it was like it worked in my life as well. Like I could be on my way home, stop off, have a chat for an hour, and then kind of like move on my way. So it just kind of has to like fit in with everything else, which is also part of the challenge, because I think when you're in the darkest depths of it all, you're like, you don't even know, you're not in your best problem solving mode, I guess. And that's why you kind of have to rely on the people around you. So if you don't mind, Antonio, I wanted to ask you a little bit about like what, because this is sort of like the journey that I went on to. Like, what are some of like the trigger points of like when you're like, man, I'm in a really awful place right now. Like what kind of like sets that off? Is it instant as a thing happens and then things aren't looking so good, or is it maybe like a more of a like a tidal type of journey?
Well, for me, it's like definitely I hit a turning point when I realized that I would get into these bouts. Some in high school, but then it was also coming back, maybe triggered by these things, where I definitely felt like chemical, like physical, where I would get in this dark cloud thing, and out of my mouth would just, if my wife's like near me, I'd be like, I'm sad, and like she would do it too, because she's obviously dealing with a lot, and it would just kind of come out verbally. And then you realize that sometimes this dark cloud comes over, you really can't shake it. Mm-hmm. You can't associate it with any one thing. You could like go and try to do a pick me up thing, if you could, motivate yourself to do that, and it kind of wouldn't help. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why my brain, my emotions are like going to this constant cycle of negativity. But a lot of people would describe it as a cloud and things like that. And until recently, because it's been hitting more and more in recent years, even though you've heard about people sharing over your life, I didn't connect the dots. And then one day I was like, oh, so this is like probably, depression, in the sense of like that I've not really experienced in quite a while. So I don't know about what triggers it. Sometimes it's just onset, comes on, you don't know what. But I know what doesn't help for me personally is not having time to myself. So I don't think that I need a long weekend. A 3-day weekend to me is infinitely better than just like a Friday, Saturday. And that's just the type of person I am. I need like a 3 days to wind down. I hope that culturally someday maybe we shift to something like a 4-day work week. But I think a lot of studies have said that makes an incredible impact. And I need to wind down. I need more time. So for someone like me, when that Saturday, Sunday doesn't like rejuvenate you, it really hurts,
Because it's like this panic, like, wait a minute, I'm all out of time, and like Monday's here, and I got to do that whole thing that I don't want to do all over again.
Sunday nights are incredibly depressing for me, like just in general, and maybe a lot of people can relate. So those are the main things. Unfortunately, we have a lot of external stressors, so it's not just me sharing with people and saying, we had a death in the family and we're dealing with a lot of things, and health concerns and mental health, things like that. Then you have to deal with everything else that's already happening with life, like maybe it's regular bills, regular work stress, a whole bunch of things, people giving you a hard time. That's why we really have to be better for each other and, respect. I can look back on the years now and I could see I have this maturity now, or this experience I needed to have to look at someone and say, look, if this person snapped on me, maybe they were going through a lot, and then you look back and then you hear
Isn't
later
that the truth,
they're
man?
going through stuff and maybe they just didn't share. So a lot of that's good. So you have to I think it's good what you're saying, and I've heard recently, I forget which podcast it was. Oh, it was Nick Scarpino on I think the morning show for Kind of Funny was talking about, they were asking him, not the morning show, it may have been Game Over Greggy or something, but he was talking about what is it in therapy that you do, and he was talking about learning yourself and the patterns and figuring out how to improve that. So for me, it's a lot of things, and I think I do need to work that out with a therapist in order to nail it down, figure it out. And it's interesting what you were saying about what you decided to do, like when you recognize your own problems and you went for convenience, and then if it did happen, like some sign in the clouds, you probably would have asked somebody about church or something. But the way that God operates is relational. Like the Bible talks about a lot of stuff, but one of the core things to understand is like God could do miracles and just say, I'm going to make this person believe in me. I'm going to turn this water into wine in front of a bunch of people. But that's not exactly the way he chooses to operate. He wants to demonstrate his love through people. And so what's going to blow your mind is, like, I was in the shower, like when, I don't know what day, and I was like, oh man, I got the recording with Sean coming up. And then, God was saying like, oh man, you're going to talk about God on the thing. And I was like, there's no way. It's more usually gaming, or if anything, it's random. Yeah. So I knew that we were going to talk about this. And I was like, but also like, why would that happen? So the thing that's going to blow your mind is this. The beautiful thing is when you talked about how long we've known each other, how long we've been doing this, like you say years, and it's kind of surprising to me. And it's like, wow, it has been. And,
years.
We have been really friendly, and, it's good that you can ask me about that and feel comfortable knowing I'd be cool with it, knowing that we're at that place where you're interested and in that perfect timing. Now, the key thing is now, I'd love to point you to some resources and just say, hey, give it a shot. Take a look at, your spiritual life and we could talk about God and stuff. But, that's the way that God works. He's like putting people in your life. And I bet it's not just me. I'm sure other people that have like lived a little differently, that that they have faith, and then you're interested, and that's it. And then that's the inroad.
See, and here's and I don't want to turn this about me, but like you're absolutely right. So for me, very quickly, because I want to make this is about you. You're literally the title of the episode. So Luke lore is exactly that. Like when I needed somebody the most, at the time I needed somebody at the absolute most in this show, I was scheduled to record Luke lore. What are the chances that when I needed somebody to talk to, it was him, and that he was ready to talk about that sort of thing, and that he had the right things to say at that moment? Like you're right in terms of, and I don't know if it's like, because I'm a baptized Catholic, like I'm Christian by, I don't even know, like just by upbringing, I suppose. But like my experience with like people have been all across different, like vastly different faiths and creed and all these different types of backgrounds and experiences. I've had an experience with a guy I've known for 10 years. He had cancer 5 times. And every time that his cancer came back, they had a new treatment option available to him because of all the work that we're able to do and things like that, and all the research that's done. He was given so many additional years that he was able to meet his wife. He was given additional years to conceive a child. And then his child was born 5 weeks early, which meant that he had 3 weeks extra to hold his son before he ended up passing. And if that doesn't make you believe in like something, like I've had dozens and dozens and dozens of experiences like that, where like right place, right time, like somebody is watching out for me or for people around us, or like that my friend was able to meet his son for a couple of weeks before he left us. And it's like, if that doesn't make you go, there's something here, then I don't know. I honestly don't know what does. So I've been very fortunate, and I recognize that I just don't know what to call it. Like I'm not at the stage to go like, this is that, like to say like, this is God or whatever it is. Like I'm almost right there. I just don't know what it is that makes me like hesitant to do that. And maybe it's part of like the non-denominational part of it, because I just don't know, like, how do we determine that it's like this God or this God? So I'm not quite there in terms of like placing a dogma around it, but I am there that like something is helping us. Something is like, is is guiding us, and we have to, I think it's good that you and I feel like we recognize that there are these weird signs, there's these weird indications that something is going to be okay. So I wanted to kind of turn this back to you, because you keep trying to make this about me.
That's really healthy, Sean.
No, it is good.
Everybody should have that mindset. That curiosity is a healthy place to be in. And I would, if you're listening, just open the door and ask questions. You know, if you have a Christian friend, or if you have, you know, any person that's going to be there, reach out, ask questions. That's exactly what we want to do. You know, that's exactly what God wants for your life, is just, you know, be in that place of curiosity and pursue it.
Mm-hmm. So what I liked most about, like, my journey ended up going, like, leading me to therapy, and that's what ended up helping me. And it's funny because I actually have to make an appointment. I haven't gone for a little bit, and I have to make an appointment because my therapist just called up and said, like, just so you know, I've accepted a job with the local, like, a Catholic school. So the separate school system, Catholic school system here. So she's going to be working with kids. And it's like, here's another thing of, she was here. She started right at the right time, like, so that she was available. They had no availability, and they're like, oh, we just got this new, I can't remember what they're called, like, when they just start becoming a therapist. Actually, Zach Erickson was this as well.
I know,
like a provisional type
about.
of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so she had just started and, like, was there to help me out, and we were able to kind of go through that. And now she's leaving, like, now she's moving on to something else, and I'm like, and it's amazing, like, what timing that she was there to help me through this thing, and she's moving on to something else, and it's almost like this graduation where maybe I can move on to something else and not have to see somebody every single month. But here's where I want to throw it back to you, Antonio, where what I liked about it, I think you and I are similar in this way, was at the end of every session, she gave me homework. She gave me like 2 or 3 things. She's like, I'm going to hold you accountable for this. And back then we were meeting every week or every 2 weeks and giving me things that I absolutely had to do, and I had to report back. And we had instantly created this rapport where I'm like, I felt accountable to her. And so I really hope that that's something that you find as well, whether it is therapy or if it's within the church or whoever it is that you're talking to, that you can itemize things, because me and you do that. We want things that are like, I want to do this, check. Like, we're very, like, to-do list type of people. And so if that was a path that definitely worked for me, and I hope that that's something that you can do as well. I started writing things down, man. Like, just writing. And I think, again, you and I are so similar in terms of, like, we want to check things off, but we're also creative. And we get that satisfaction of making something and, like, putting it out there. And who knows? Like, even if it's not, like, even if people don't see it or read it or whatever, experience it or consume it, the fact that you, like, had this idea, you put pen to paper, and then it's a thing, I know that, like, you smile even just at the thought of that.
Oh, yeah. It's therapeutic for sure. Mm-hmm. And having that accountability, I think, is going to be huge. And I didn't think of that. So it's great that you're able to come away with that and share it with me. I know that a lot of people have been checking on me lately, which definitely helps. And I mean, that goes for, you know, spiritual growth, weight loss, like mental health, like everything. Accountability is huge with that.
Physical health
yeah,
is
absolutely.
Huge, man. For me,
I appreciate it. If you've ever checked up on me, thank you if you're watching. Listen.
So how are you doing? Like, is that something for me? I identified that was a trigger point in terms of I wasn't getting out and being active. So I was like, it's kind of like when with a dog, like if you put a dog in a kennel for 2 days, it's like that thing is gonna go nuts, or even a day or whatever. Like the dogs need to walk, right? So part of my, like, getting back to being healthier was every single day I was walking the dogs. Whereas, like, before it was like maybe every other day, or like then it starts to stretch out into a week or whatever. So just all these different things, man. I should really kind of, like, itemize in a way what this last year has been, because, like, I was just ready to just not be here. Like, it was just, like, the darkest time, man, and it was awful. And it's such what a difference. And I don't say that to, like, oh, I'm better, too bad for you. I really say it to go, like, trust me. Like, when I say, like, that, I couldn't move. I canceled a podcast with Gabe Patillo from Married to the Games, like, 2 minutes before, because, like, I couldn't get myself off the couch. It was freaking awful, man. And to go from that and just, like, realizing that I'm here for a reason. I don't know what that is necessarily, but there's people here who care about me and I care about them. Start from there. And that's kind of where the idea of, like, when I talk about the beginning of the show, like, 3 things I'm grateful for, it's like, well, 3 things, like, whatever it is, I'm grateful for. Even I'll do it right now. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for these silly lights right here that make everything look great. And I'm grateful for a hot cup of coffee, man. And then instantly, like, how can you say, like, I'm grateful for, like, I don't know, like, these headphones are comfy, and all of a sudden I'm like, I feel a little bit better. like, it's so much of it is like how much power you have over your own mind, as well as dealing with some of the trigger points as well that are the external factors that are impacting you in that certain way. I think that helps. But now I'm getting way too prescriptive. I'm trying to mostly just explore, man. So I hope that, like, I don't know, in a couple of months maybe we have you back on the show. I want to check back in on you. Obviously we don't need the show necessarily to do that, but like, for the sake of, I don't know, illustrating the spectrum that we can explore on this, man.
That would be cool. I think that, just you are able to see people's like growth. Like, if you think, I think the last time that I was on, it was right when I was starting Switch Talk. Like, it was, well, I'll go over a year ago at least. I remember where I was when we were recording. And yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing, first of all, because as you open up, as we all open up, I think just that helps. And then again, just you sharing about, what you've come away with, naming things that you're grateful, saying that helps you. I'm going to internalize that. And, like I've always done with you, is just kind of get inspired and take that away. And that's going to be great. Like, if you're listening and you're in that spot, because, you absolutely could be, reach out, to someone. I just had a friend tell me that it was really important for him he wasn't talking even to someone extremely close to him that he saw all the time, but wouldn't tell that person, I need help. And then once he got over that barrier, it was like, bam, connection, like that person's checking up on me. And, that's going to be huge. So I just think about the listeners right now and how they could like be helped by all this. And like, again,
and that's you, man. That is 100% you. And I'll use this as a pivot point as well, because you definitely gain satisfaction, and it makes you feel better to help other people. You've helped me. So like when people watch the video, this template is designed by you. The intro is designed by you. You've been helping, I know, Luke Lore a little bit. Like, tell me a little bit about, like, you should have like almost like a discography, like a credits roll of like a special thanks to Antonio Guillen. Like, where can people find some of like the things you've been working on and helping other people out?
Well, we just launched something and Joe was like, you do this? And I'm like, I've been around for like 2-3 years asking everybody, do you need help with a graphic or a logo or a bumper? I'm like, how did you not know?
Do you know how often people like message me? They're like, hey man, have you talked to Antonio Guillen? And I'm like, yeah, I know Antonio. Antonio and I go way back. And they're like, yeah, so he wants to help me with this thing. And I'm like, let him. Like, just, and people who are listening now, like, they will all, like, I'm not even going to name all the people because that's kind of what I want to get to with you. But like, people are like, oh yeah, I did that. Like, there's definitely going to be people listening to this going like, I totally asked Sean, like, do you know about this? So like, you've always been, it's almost, and it catches people off guard. I'll speak even just for myself, because it's like, okay, Antonio, like, what do you want? You know what I mean? But that's not you.
Yeah, I figured out over time that I just, take a lot of joy in letting other people realize their dreams. So when they tell me a pitch, especially if they're excited about it, I look at it and I say, how do I make that better for you? Just using, my experience and, the things that I'm good at. So if I can do something that's video related, some audio engineering, some graphic work, I just want to help. I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure it's like, it's one of my gifts, one of my spiritual gifts, one of my personality traits, and that's just me. And like you were saying before, what helps, and that energizes me. And I can sit there and I'll just put my head down, and when I have the time, I'll definitely like hammer something out and try to make it great for you. So a lot of it's the podcast related stuff. So I'll just make this logo, make this overlay, make this thing. And I look at it, and if you want the help, again, I just feel like I can be that for a lot of people. And like I said, what I get out of it is just the joy of helping. I don't know if that doesn't make sense to other people. It seems like a very tangible thing to me, because everybody does ask. Luke was like, I can't pay you. And I'm like, who mentioned money? Like, we were already like kind of into it already. Yeah. And I was like, I have that structural mind. I can help plan and things. And I don't know, I just love it. I want to be part of something greater. Mm-hmm. And, I think the idea of podcasting with co-hosts and people, because you've Clay Howard and David Jones, my co-hosts on Switch Talk, they were there for me in a dark time when we started the podcast. If you haven't listened, we just cover, the latest Switch game and just do a 30-minute quick discussion, break it down, and lately we're reviewing too. And, it's not anything, it's not niche or anything. It's like everybody's kind of doing it, talking about games, but it's our personal discussion, and it helps. And having that done with people, being part of something, that energizes me. And then the more recent thing, right when Make Us Better was becoming a thing, we launched the Nintendo Village. So, Gary Gray and Phil Myth, they had this idea of making like almost like an IGN. So it's a website where we do like reviews, have a bunch of podcasts underneath it, and it's all Nintendo focused though. So that came up right around the same time that like I said, Make Us Better, and being part of something greater. That's another thing that energizes me. So, I don't know. I just love what I do, and what I do is try to help other people. And yeah, I don't have many original ideas for myself, but I can take your idea and be like, I can help with your stuff. So it's hard for me to launch anything,
Dude, I'm actually very similar. Like, I always have a lot of appreciation and love for people who are like for graphic designers and digital designers who are like with Adam Leonard, for example. Like, you have a blank slate, and it's just like you just make something. Like I can do like maybe I'll look at a thing and maybe draw something that looks sort of like I can't like think of something off the top of my head. It's always a version of something else. So I always appreciate people who can like look at a blank slate and they see something within it.
Shout out to Adam. If there's anybody who trumps me, for sure, it's his raw creative and his art and art style, and all of the things that he's done for people is like well beyond what I have. I mean, he can make something from nothing, like you said. That's super impressive. But Adam Leonard, people, the art of Adam L.
I wanted to give you a shout out for bringing people together. So there's a lot of times that I talk to people, and I think everybody kind of has experience with this, where they have an idea, they get started with it, maybe they buy like a .com or something, and then it just sort of like sits and flounders. But like that's not necessarily the case with Nintendo Village. It was a great idea. I've told you guys right from the start. Gary Gray showed me like way back. He's like, yeah, we're working on this thing. And it's pretty amazing. He kind of gave me the inside scoop, right? And I'm like, this is the coolest thing. And here we are, like probably a year and a half later from that day when he told me about it. I think it was the beginning of last year. It must have been. When did you guys? Yeah, I guess about January last year, something like that.
It was kind of like a staggered rollout, but I would say definitely around the holiday time was when we started.
And it's a thing now, man. You guys just added a couple new shows. Josh Brandt is doing a show over there. Nindy Nation. Yeah,
Nindy Nation with Josh Brandt. I forget the name of his co-host, but he's excellent. And there's a lot of things under there. Clay Howard has many sub podcasts under there. One's Mouse Bites, so it's all just Disney themed games. What's that word? Licensed games. And then Strictly Game Boy is like just going back in the Game Boy catalog, which like the nostalgia, man. Just like turn that on. Like it's amazing and it's fun to do. And what's interesting, and you say how people like kind of start and stop. It's that accountability thing too. When you're working with a team, it's easier to feel like you're all building toward it together. And when you have hard life things happening, we have a review team that we're getting all these codes and things that we're able to, divide and conquer together. And that's way better than I've talked to a bunch of people who, I'm going to do game reviews. And, they get there and then they have to feel like they have to keep it up. And now that there's so many hundreds of games releasing a month, there's no way you really can in a sense. And if you're doing a podcast and you're trying to do it weekly, then you feel horrible. How many times do you have a weekly podcast and then you can't do it and you feel horrendous that you can't keep up? Imagine if somebody else could step in. And many people have done that with Switch Talk and a bunch of podcasts, under the Nintendo Village. So it's like, doing things communally, I think, is a good way. We're looking for people.
Takes a village. So it's almost like it's a saying.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to be a writer, if you want to be part of a podcast, if you want to come under and be part of something bigger, check out the NintendoVillage.com. The NintendoVillage.com, I think, is what it is. On Twitter, it's Village Nintendo. And, just hang out with us and Make Us Better is another thing. Like, go talk to those guys. Whoever, just... If I feel like there's so many people out there who lack the confidence to even start, or they're on the other end of the spectrum and they feel like they have to build their brand and do everything solo. My brand is my name or whatever. And if you want a little respite from that and you want some help, I feel like there's a nice middle ground with the stuff that like kind of Make Us Better and the Nintendo Village is doing, that community thing. I took to it as soon as I got pitched the idea. I was like, this could work. And it's been amazing. And there's a lot of good content on it.
That's something I love. I think anybody who's listening, who's ever created anything, has that moment like, hang on a second, this is a thing. Like, this could actually work. Because actually, Like what a bright moment for everybody to have. I wanted to, so you kind of like, we kind of oscillate a little bit. I would definitely want to focus a little bit on Switch talk because I wanted to, I think, speaking of journeys, my Luke Lore obligatory mention of the journey. When you guys started that show, it started very early in the Switch's lifetime, where we're like, is this going to be a thing? Like, Zelda was pretty good, and like they've got this lineup, which is pretty great, and the roadmap looked like we were going to get a big game every single month. We're getting 60 games every other day. So how has that been? Because, so for those who don't know, the focus of Switch Talk is like every episode you guys hone in on a game, right? You talk about one game. So I wanted to ask you, like, you know, the vision of the show was set at a time where maybe that was more manageable. Have you guys had any challenges or struggles with crazy releases on the Switch, or maybe right at the moment things are a little drier? Like, I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit. I'll round this out in a question like this. Like, in your opinion, like, what is the state of the Switch and how does it impact Switch Talk?
What happened with Switch Talk is we never really nailed down an exact release schedules. We know we're never promising weekly, never nailed it down. So I think on the average, we're releasing on every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, a show. Part of that is scheduling. We try to get, again, our co-hosts, 3 of them all together, and maybe a guest. So we're trying to get at least 3 or 4 opinions on the same game. So that's part of it. Mm-hmm. And then it takes some time to play the game, because we try to give each game a fair shot. We're not just doing like initial impressions. It's more of a dive in after we spend plenty of time. And again, recently we've been reviewing it too, and just giving a couple points on that, all in 30 minutes. So it's kind of like an action-packed round table, but fairly fast. The challenge with the show in particular, I think, is the release schedule of trying to be up on that hot thing and that hot game. In our culture now, gaming culture, whatever you want to call it, in my opinion, I think that the lifespan, the hype span of a game is incredibly short. If you're talking about a game that released 4 weeks ago, it might as well be ancient history. So we're going to actually make some changes to try to be out faster, but also give games a fair shake. So we're trying to find that balance. So it was an interesting concept.
Let's chat about that for a little bit too, because I agree, man. So today, as we mentioned, is my birthday. If somebody does not get me Octopath Traveler, I will be buying that game. But like, that game came out at the beginning of the month, came out like 2-3 weeks ago. It's like, who gives a crap about Octopath Traveler? Now, maybe this is a case where it's an exception to the rule, where I agree with you. The hype period is very, very short. And I want to talk about Hypecasting with you as well. But so like, I just like, where are we? Like, you guys are making an adjustment in terms of trying to make these things come out sooner. But I kind of like, well, I appreciate that, and I think that that's probably what the audience is wanting. Like, I start to get a little bit worried that we are making adjustments with maybe a knee-jerk reaction where the audience wants this thing right away, but is that actually beneficial in the long run? I don't know exactly how to articulate this, Antonio. Maybe other people can help me out. Yeah. Leave a comment on the YouTube video about this. But like, I think I don't know exactly why, but I feel like it's dangerous. I feel like it's dangerous to go like, I only care about this game for 3 days and that's kind of it. And I think it's just, I don't know another way around it, because you're right, because there are so many games that come out all the time. But how does one extend the life? And maybe that's why developers are making these games that last longer, where you have like constant news stories, like new things to talk about, whether it's a season or an expansion pass that comes out later, or all these different things. I think it's just such a weird, tumultuous time in gaming right now, and we're all just trying to figure out like, what do we even do about that? That's one of the reasons why the show is what it is because like I never have, and I even will be, when worse as time goes on, I'll never be able to be on top of whatever the next game is. And I'm streaming God of War right now. God of War came out April 20th, man. Like, I am and The Witcher 3. So
has it been that long already? Oh, wow.
That's what I mean. Like, and you blink your eye, like you snap your finger, and it's like half the population's gone, and games are 3 months old.
We're having a conversation on Kind of Funny and on a couple of their different shows. Their topics kind of bleed over about market saturation, and are we reaching a point with the recent announcement of so many games coming to Switch per week, or at least a plan to try to hit like, what was it, 20 a week or something ridiculous like Steam. And then just the fact that our falls have been so packed, especially recently, that it doesn't seem like it's any time slowing down. You look at Xbox announcements of saying, look at all these studios and they're all working on stuff right now. They're all going to have 2 packed years when that stuff comes to fruition. And they were saying that they didn't think there was market saturation, but I'm on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I absolutely believe that the attention span of our segment of the gaming population, which is if you're doing podcasting or you're up on news and you're more plugged into the culture, you're typically in this, I want to play the hottest thing. I want to know what's going on. I'm reading about the news, etc. There's a whole swath, of course, of people in gaming that they buy the console whenever they got the money. They buy only 3 games, etc. And that's a huge chunk of, what these companies have to cater to. But then there's the hardcore, whatever you want to call it, the plugged in people. And for us, because I'm doing the podcast, I have to, in a sense, like I really shouldn't play we would never cover on Switch Talk, do an episode this month on a 6-month-old game. It just doesn't work. So it is very interesting. I think that the biggest problem is we have so much to play and everything wants between 5 hours and 20 hours, whatever it is, but hours of your precious life. And we're all getting older, and that brings the family responsibility and babies and all that. And, your limited money. I wanted to ask this. I think I asked Joe to talk about it on his show. Sean, for you, if you were going to buy games in this year from now to the end of the year, about how many would you expect you were going to buy? And I know Game Pass complicates everything even more, but how many games are you going to buy? For me, I would say it's just off the top of my head, it's like, Red Dead, Smash. I want to try the Tomb Raider actually pretty bad. Like, I'm going to say like 10 around, just pie in the sky. Wouldn't you say the same thing, or what? What's your number?
Probably less, man. And that's
less 5?
Yeah,
2?
maybe 5. Between now and the end of the year.
You're going to play more than 5 games. Get out. You're going to buy full price more than 5 games. Well, you do have the library too, so
I don't think so. That's the thing, man. And I definitely think about that. It's a great question. I really do think so. Full price is one thing. Oh, look at this. I'm getting a nice call from an old friend. Look at I always miss his calls. Sorry, Marco. What was it called? Okay, so like the end of the year always brings about like Black Friday deals as well, right? So for me, like I'm very attentive to sales and deals.
Frugal gamer.
I am a very frugal gamer, and that also puts me a little behind. There are some games like Nintendo, when they comes out, like there's no use waiting. Just buy a day one, it's gonna be the same price in 4 years. Like it doesn't really matter. So Smash falls into that category. I don't know that I want to get Pokemon first day. Like that's a tough one. Red Dead's probably there. Spider-Man is. I don't know if I want to pay full price for Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider has this weird thing.
There's one more.
No, that's it.
You know what I'm talking about? No, is that it? I thought it was Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's it.
I thought they had one more ace in the sleeve. Okay, whatever.
No, everything else is 2020 and PlayStation 5.
If you have the gumption, if you have the self-control, I respect you. For someone like me, I'm going to have to. That's a lot of money. And I think that I don't care what segment actually you are. I do think that we're hyper saturated with content, period. And time is of the essence, and we're burning that sucker. We are placing kerosene all over our lives. Our time management skills, depending on who you are, someone like Luke Lore is very like, I know what I like, and I'm only going to play what I like, and I'm not jumping on every bandwagon, and I will only stream this many hours, and I won't overstretch myself. He's on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm over here, like, if I could chug, like, Red Bulls 24/7 without dying, I would definitely tackle my backlog.
I'm the same. Look at the size of this coffee mug, man. Are you kidding me? I didn't need coffee. I slept in until 1 o'clock today. This is absolutely unnecessary. If nothing else, than to like speed up my chatter so I get all my thoughts out as quickly as possible, so you can't listen to this podcast 2 times speed. I don't know. My mind actually can't keep up with talking that quickly. But I've started to toy with the idea of, and I remember talking to John Wall about this when he was on the show once upon a time, about like, do you actually get more satisfaction out of a game because it's shorter than a longer game? And he said yes, and that made absolutely no sense to me. Where I'm like, so you might even recognize that a game that is 5 hours might not give you all of the things that another game, for what I don't even know what those things are, but like I'm actually staring at like Nier Automata. I don't know how you beat it. No,
have you beat it 4 times?
No, exactly. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, is that like of all the games, like what the heck, man? Like this, there's no finishing this game. This game is amazing, by all measures, this game is incredible and people should absolutely play this. And yes, an Xbox person is like holding up a PlayStation thing, whatever. I play all stuff. Also, here's another endless game right over here, No Man's Sky. Also great now, by the way. I really enjoyed my time with that. Who the heck has time for any of these
How
things?
many more hundreds of hours will you put into that, Sean?
I mean, I don't know, maybe 3 hours.
Oh, 3.
3 hours. I don't know, man. But that's another, like, that's a game that I could go on forever and ever because I've really liked what they've done with it. I feel like the game itself is not too different, but the polish is there, so I don't have that initial, like, what is this? This is garbage. But to the point of trying to balance time and money, I've started to turn that corner a little bit harder than I really anticipated that I would, where I just wanted to always play all of the things, and I didn't care. Like, at a certain point, I can only have so many games that are still in the wrapper before, like, it's not even like Chelsea has to say anything. I say to myself, like, what are you doing? Like, just, there really is no point to this. So it forces me to be a little bit more frugal. It forces me to be a little bit more choosy. But then it also, I try to match it with, like, all of this, the things that I absolutely enjoy doing, where I've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mostly free in the evening. So maybe I can spend 2 to 3 hours playing games and streaming and stuff. And it kind of, like, forces me to not just kind of go, oh, maybe I'll play a game tomorrow night. Because like we said before, we blinked our eyes and now it's the end of July when God of War just came out a moment ago. So I'm just trying to, like, build ways to stay on top of it. And we have ebbs and flows, man. We have ebbs and flows.
I'm right there with you. If I'm looking at everything realistically, I was looking at my Xbox dashboard, the way that it lays it out with the tiles, and I have those tiles full of great games. Mm-hmm. And I don't, the percentage of games I actually beat is like, 10% of what I actually ever boot up. Mm-hmm. But the great sin is that some of the best, most exciting, most rewarding things, like John's talking about, of a game is the end of a game, the completion that, like, I did it. Sometimes developers over time have put a lot into that. And, sometimes it falls flat. It's hard to end a thing properly. But some of the things that is just you'll never experience. Mm-hmm. And, developers are shifting gears and understanding that people aren't going to finish their single player, just rip that thing out. Like, so it's very interesting. And now in our day and age, if a AAA game came out that didn't have legs and a DLC plan, paid or free, it doesn't matter, to keep that attention and bring it back every 2 months or whatever it is, it'd be sacrilege now. It's just not the way things are done. And I don't know what's going to happen. It's uncharted territory, and it's interesting. This brings me to a good point, and I know you wanted to talk about it. I realized in my life that gaming, the best part of gaming is what?
Hype.
The anticipation
man.
of what it could be is much better than what actually we get most time, No Man's Sky. So things can change and shift and warp, but we are most excited at E3. We are we have this, like, gaming news and keeping up and, talking and having conversations about, I call it gaming culture, every aspect of gaming, from this game to that, to the topics that are covered, to sales. So there's this whole industry that has popped up around the actual sitting there with the controller, right? And, like, that is energizing to me and exciting. So I created the Nintendo Hypecast.
Yes!
It's brand new, and it sits on this idea of community and doing things with others. It's a variety show with lots of mini segments. Again, I so much I want to respect people's time with this whole conversation. I don't need to give you a 3-4 hour, chunk. I'll keep it to 30 minutes or less. Just like Switch Talk. Yeah, right? They're like, oh, just because once a month we get to talk your ear off, like, for 15,000 an hour.
I love that.
No, guys. I really appreciate it.
That's the thing. Okay, so Mr. Badbit doesn't do this well. We do it perfectly. You take a shot and you go like, no, I love it. You guys are great. You guys are great.
Oh, you mean he just takes shots and never pulls them back?
Capri for conspiracy, blah, 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 ha, ha.
I didn't catch that show, so I have no idea where that went.
I can't even believe I shouldn't have even given. I'm gonna maybe edit that out. I shouldn't even give it the time of the day. Okay, Hypecast, dude. Okay, this is perfect though. So this is. I'm glad.
Bunch of segments. It's a variety show.
This is the appropriate reaction to the problem that we identified earlier, which is too many games. Can't play them all. We can't give them all attention. So instead of actually, like, not even like playing them. Let's just talk about the hype and excitement.
The whole idea is the featured segment is just like not what happened, but what we would have liked to have happened and what the future could be, looking out as far as possible and saying, you know, what idea. Could this be like? And E3 all the time is what the idea of the show is. E3 the other part of the show, again, is variety. So it's just a bunch of fun stuff. I don't want to ruin it for you, but definitely check it out. I have, you know, Joseph Moran, I got Tammy Ryan, I got Clay Howard, and I'm trying to build it. I asked you, Sean, a long time ago. I said, Sean, I'm doing a thing. I'd like you to be part of it. You said yes, and I was typing my pitch, and you had already said yes. And I don't recall if I hit enter on this paragraph that I pre-prepared to tell you what it was about.
I remember.
But maybe you could be part of it. But I believe that there's a lot of content creators out there that would like to be part of something. Maybe you have an idea for just like this fun little segment.
I need to crap on you a little bit for a second because
don't make it a podcast. Okay. Put it inside this show and do a podcast within a podcast with me.
Oh my god.
Come.
Munch Squad?
We'll do it together.
My brother and me?
What were you gonna say? I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, I was gonna say, like, you're like, man, I couldn't even like tell you what it was, and you were so excited about it. Like you said yes, and then like maybe you could be a part of it.
Yeah,
I know, and then you're like, and then I'm not a part of it.
Well, I was like, can you be a part of it? And I'll tell you why. Because like, yes. I saw you, and I saw where you were at the time, and I was like, look,
I appreciate
every time I opened my phone, every time I sat at my computer, you were there, and I was like, if I ask him, he will say yes. And I will take more of his precious time. So now that all the framework's been set, and I can really prove to you and anybody else that, you know, we can collaborate with, that I really only need a couple minutes of your time. Each segment's like 5 minutes. So if you want to do something bi-weekly, you know, 5 minutes, we'll do that. The fun part is what your segment's about. And
You're
again, tune into the show.
Nintendo Hypecast drive.
It's so cool. It's so cool. So we have a lot of fun stuff. The other part of it is it's a show about having fun. So the different segments are about all sorts of things. And again, we try to keep it in Nintendo wrapper, obviously. But it's the main hype thing and then a bunch of little other things. And I don't think a lot of other people are doing something like that. And one of the things I was never able to internalize that you told me about and, you know, advised was, you know, keep it niche, keep it like as specified as possible. Switch Talk is kind of just more general game talk. This is definitely like into that rabbit hole of, I bet no one would ever think of this because this is so stupid and like just like let's have some fun. So
love it.
I'm really we actually streamed it this morning while you were asleep, and it will be releasing. So take a look at the NintendoVillage.com or go to the Nintendo Village YouTube, and you'll be able to see that by the time this airs, I'm sure. So check it out. It should be evergreen content, pretty much.
Dude, I can't freaking wait. Where can people, aside from that, why don't we close things out? People should be following you on Twitter. I see you a little quiet over on Twitter, but where should people follow you to make sure they know when this is coming out? I
switched Twitter, so I was like at BlueBlood02, but the spelling doesn't match the phonetics. So I was like, forget it. Just follow me at Hypecaster. Hypecaster, no spaces in between.
You got Hypecaster?
At Hypecaster, yeah. So take a look at that. That's where I am now. It's just easier. So yeah, I'm mainly a lurker on Twitter. I really have to do that. Like I always want to say something, and then it comes out just like Eeyore, like life is horrible.
No,
so I try not to tweet and bring people down. But at Hypecaster will definitely help you. And then again, at Village Nintendo is the Nintendo Village's Twitter. And again, be part of it. Check out Make Us Better. Check out Sean Capri. Wish him a happy birthday belated. By the time you hear this, it would have been a couple days ago or whatever. I don't know when this is releasing.
I don't know when it is either. I was looking at maybe Wednesday, but that's August. So I need this to come out in July.
To him.
Okay, man. Thank you so much for doing this. We took a journey, man. We did all the things. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, Antonio. As we always say, we took the journey. And I mentioned at the top of the show that JoAfterWork is going to be on Monday. One thing that you guys don't know is in these earphones, I'm actually listening to Joe on his stream, twitch.tv/JoAfterWork. I'm listening to him right now. And I'm pretty positive it's not coming through, but if it is, you get a little preview of the hilarity going on over there. Guys, in the meantime, please check out the Nintendo Village. We talked about an article that Antonio put up. I don't remember if we had mentioned that it's still there, of course. Go check it out, give it a read. I know it got a lot of attention and great feedback when it was posted, so but it shouldn't be just that one time. So please go check it out. Amazing stuff happening at the Nintendo Village. It was a great idea at the start, and they're kicking it and killing it, and kicking and killing it. I don't know if it's killing it by kicking. Anyway, if you like, if this isn't too much for you to handle, follow me on Twitter at Sean Capri. The show, We the GamerCast, the website, We the Nerdy. Remember, I do If We Ran Nintendo with Bobby Pauls and Jason Lacey. We are probably going to be doing next Friday. What date is that? I've got a minute here. JoAfterWork is just laughing in my ear. August 3rd, we will be going live with Bobby. Bobby Pauls makes his return. Also, shout out to Bobby. We'll get more into that on Monday. Bobby's back, baby. Bobby's back. And I do the Xbox Drive with Dave Moore. We talk about Xbox stuff. It's good times. And I'm also playing No Man's Sky. What do you think about that? If you like this, if you like all of We the GamerCast and If We Ran Nintendo and all the other stuff, the PSVGs and the Nintendo Nostalgias and the Trophy Rooms and the Bad Bits and the Warp Whistles and all the other things, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/makeusbetter. $3 and up, you're in the show notes. $10 and up, you're in that amazing group of people at the top of the show, all the executive producers. I so appreciate you guys. July was our biggest month yet, and we'll hope that we just keep growing, including more people, and just doing all of the things that you guys allow us to do. Thank you to our artists, Gary Great and Adam Leonard. Thank you to our video designer. You saw him and heard him today. All this looks as amazing as it does because of Antonio Guillen. And of course, this is powered by the Day Space Network of Podcasts. He's playing this super Japanese game. I don't even know. It's going to be the thumbnail, surely. But otherwise, this is episode 163 of We the GamerCast. Is now in your ears and your eyeballs. I'll be back on Monday with JoAfterWork. I hope you're there too. Now, because it's a Patreon-powered bonus episode, it's time for Patrick Stewart at the drive-thru. I love this thing. I hope you guys do too. Bye-bye. See you Monday.
Hello, I'm Patrick Stewart, star of TV's Star Trek: The Next Generation, and the host of the documentary series MGM, When the Lion Roars.
Okay, that's fine, sir. Can I take your order?
Yes, you can.
And what is your order, sir?
I'll have a quarter pounder with cheese and a side order of fries.
Would you like it?
And a fillet. Oh, fish.
Would you like a cold drink with that, sir?
Yes. Yes. For the sake of the future of all mankind, I will have a small Sprite.
Okay, sir, that's $5.20. Could you proceed to the first window?
The first window. The first portal to a new dimension. One greater, one more wondrous than our own.
No, just the first window of the drive-thru, please, sir.
Yes, then so it is that I proceed to this window of which you speak.
Thank you, sir.
Approaching warp speed.
What the f***? Mate, did you just drive into the back of me?
Yes, it is so.
Mate, are you some kind of f***ing comedian?
I am Patrick Stewart.
Mate, get out of the f***ing car.
And so, with heavy heart, I hereby withdraw from the vehicle.
Mate, look what you've done to my f***ing Duco.
You accuse me.
Mate, f***ing A I do. Here's your order, sir.
What manner of burger is this? And these slivers of potato extract?
Hey, Chrome Dome, are you gonna f***ing pay for my car or not, mate? Mate!
I am under attack. I must reason with this.
Mate, you are talking out your f***ing ass.
And so it is that I bid you and your people farewell.
What a f***ing dead shit.